Hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here at AMC Town Square for the premiere of The Mummy. I am here with the special guest Josh Bell of the Las Vegas Weekly, and also Josh Bell, HatesEverything.com. You can find him on Twitter at Signalblade. We are going to do a review of The Mummy. Josh, we just got out of the beginning of the Dark Universe. What are your thoughts?
Oh man, I am not looking forward to the continuation of the Dark Universe.
Keeping its title.
Although, yeah, well, let's see if it does keep its title or if it has to change its name. Although, who knows? I mean, they've got a lot of different characters and different filmmakers and stars and whatever, and maybe they could churn out something good eventually. But I feel like nothing good comes of these movies where the whole point of the movie is to just set up other movies. I was just having an argument over off camera with a fellow moviegoer about this whole phenomenon, and he's saying that you can't judge any of these movies until, like, you know, 6 movies later or something when they complete the story. It's like, that's ridiculous.
Yes,
People are paying $12 to sit down for 2 hours and watch this movie. You can't tell them at the end, well, too bad you weren't satisfied. You need to see 6 more movies over the next 10 years in order to decide whether it was really satisfying.
Completely agree. You have to get us there to want us to see the next couple.
And the story never ends anyway. Even does it culminate, you know, go back to Marvel, does it culminate in Infinity War or whatever that's coming up? No. It's just going to set us up for some more stuff later on. So, yeah, but that's kind of a side issue to
Monsters Assemble.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yes. Maybe that's what they'll change the name to.
Okay, so overall thoughts. What were you thinking? Yeah, but I mean that is the first problem, is they're going into this mindset of like, we're gonna copy this method of just building. What kind of characters we have? Well, we have the monsters. So let's get all the monsters, give them their own movies again, and then bring them back. Like we talked about before we started recording, they first launched with Dracula Untold, and then retracted really quick because it didn't work very well.
We're gonna take a do-over on that. Yeah.
So what were your thoughts on The Mummy?
Well, also, I just don't think this is a very good movie.
Okay.
I mean, I think if it was a fun, like, enjoyable movie that had a few bits of setup for future things, I would say, all right, whatever, that's fine. You know, that's necessary. We just kind of have to tolerate that. A lot of the Marvel movies are that way.
Yeah, the universe thing isn't the only thing that you're not.
Right, no. I mean, I think this movie, just as a movie, is unsuccessful. I think partially because they're trying to launch the universe thing, it has to be a big spectacle, it has to be a big action movie, but yet it's the monsters, so they're also trying to make it scary. It's not really scary, but it's kind of like horrific in certain ways, but those tones don't really mix. They get Tom Cruise in there to be big action guy Tom Cruise, and it's totally a bad fit.
It felt like we got kind of the Jack Reacher, the smart aleck, you know, action guy, always got something clever to say, thrown into this universe that just, it doesn't all mesh together.
No, it really didn't, and all the humor, the one-liners, I thought really fell flat. Tom Cruise's character had really no chemistry with Annabelle Wallis, who plays the archaeologist that he's supposed to care so much about, and she was a total non-entity, and Sofia Boutella as the Mummy is a really underwhelming villain, and she's the title character. The movie's not really about her at all, and yet we were saying off camera how good she was in Star Trek Beyond last year. Was it last year? Or?
Yes.
I don't even know these things.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah, and she's totally wasted in this movie. Russell Crowe was kind of fun as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I feel like maybe when he eventually gets his movie in 2024 or whatever it is, I might enjoy that.
His origin story.
Yeah, but overall, no. And I also think this movie is going to not be a success at the box office.
You think it's going to fail?
I really do, yeah.
I mean, I think it's definitely going to have a sort of draw, but I don't know how much they're expecting to make and how much they will make. Like we were also talking about in the theater, that I think it's going to fall more on international.
Yeah, Tom Cruise is big internationally.
I think I liked the movie a little bit more than you. I think there were some more parts that I was a little bit more forgiving with and kind of into. I think my problem with this movie was that it was so meshed together and it doesn't go well together. Like there's so many standout things that don't fit. For instance, the comedy level, like the amount of comedy in this movie just kind of destroys the tone of what they're trying to build here. And I understand you don't want to go for straight horror, you want to kind of go for the action. Same thing what they did with Dracula Untold, is both that action and that kind of horror.
Yeah,
but
no humor in that movie.
We just kind of need a tone. I mean, it's okay to throw a few jokes in there, but it was so heavy-handed, especially the first half of the movie. But there are some moments where I think that I was kind of into it. There's this a really great moment with a ton of little calls, little Easter eggs, if you will, to
various
what's to come and
monsters,
things to
right,
happen.
yeah.
But no, I think I kind of liked not the final battle sequence, but towards the climax of the movie when we're having these graves popping up out of the water and all these like the graves popping out of the walls. Like I think that's kind of the imagery that I'm looking for if I'm going to see something called The Mummy.
Right.
But like everything about it doesn't feel mummy-ish. If we're going to say now this is the Mummy movie, this just kind of feels like it's the equivalent of kind of like Pirates of the Caribbean, where they're like skeleton cursed monsters that are just.
She had a few little bandages.
Yeah. She's definitely not the Mummy.
No,
but
she was
and that's
mummy.
fine. But I mean, like you said, title character, the monster that we want to depend our movie on.
Yeah.
She just doesn't have a presence in the movie. I mean,
No.
And then that's kind of really a bummer. And the movie starts in a very odd place. I think to actually start the movie, it's in a very kind of strange place.
Yeah, there's a lot of little there's so much exposition in this movie too. Russell Crowe,
Yeah.
other than his one big fight with Tom Cruise, which was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Literally his whole purpose is in the movie, he kind of strides into the scene. He's like, let me tell you a very long story about something. Here's some backstory.
One of the few movies that I've ever seen have like an intro title card and then actually repeat it in the opening monologue.
Right, yeah.
But no, I mean, I don't think that this movie is a complete disappointment. I think there are moments that that you can enjoy, but I think this is a rocky start for this universe, and I can only hope they get better. I mean, from what we're hearing, like we were saying, Johnny Depp is supposedly supposed to play the Invisible Man. Javier Bardem going to be playing Frankenstein's monster. Like that to me is like, okay, I'm intrigued there. Russell Crowe is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Obviously, this isn't a new world, so it's like no matter even what you like, this is going to be a completely different version, a different variation.
Right.
Especially if they're following this pattern, because this Mummy is nothing like the Mummy that we know.
Sure.
And it's taking on a complete life of its own. So if they do it with all the characters, we might not even get the characters that we really love besides the name.
I mean, if all the movies have a similar tone to this movie, I mean, I think that's what these universes have done. Usually, like the Marvel movies really all have a very similar tone.
Yeah.
So if this is setting the tone for those other movies, even though sure some of those other actors are intriguing or the directors or writers that they've gotten on board, if they're all going to have to follow this template, I don't really want to see this kind of version of Frankenstein's monster or this version of the Wolfman. I feel like that's gonna it's misguided in terms of what makes those characters fun and worth watching in movies.
Yeah, and I think I think there's part of that maybe DC fear kind of floating around over in Universal, where they're like, well, we don't want to make it too serious because people don't like that, because that's what their criticism of DC was.
Right.
But that's because DC is a possibility to be fun and to be exciting, where these need to kind of have a more darker, sinister tone, I think.
Right. Well, and also they don't all have to have the same tone. I think
they don't have to be so heavy-handed either. They could be light, but they need to still kind of keep at least a consistency that this one didn't have.
Yeah. No, I mean, it really felt like they were trying to make it all things because it's the launch of this. So we want to make it clear that it's scary and it's also action-packed and it has big stars, but it's also funny and it also sets things up. Like you can't do all of that in one movie. And they're trying to.
And Tom Cruise is an odd choice.
Yeah,
I don't think I don't feel like I wouldn't like. I mean, miscast could be the word. He didn't bother me so much, but he does feel out of place in this world.
He's out of place.
But not even him, just his character in general.
Right.
The way he acts, the way he talks, just feels so inconsistent.
But the character is very much like a Tom Cruise character.
Yeah, he's like a Jack Reacher.
Right. I think that's part of the problem, that you could have cast someone else and tweaked that character a bit and not made it a Tom Cruise movie.
Yeah.
And it would have been more successful. But
it seems more like they're investing in him to kind of bring the money in for the first movie.
And it's a smart investment.
Yeah, it is, because Tom Cruise has been on a roll, not so much Jack Reacher 2, but everything before that I've been pretty happy with.
And I think as action star, like Tom Cruise is a good movie star. He's maybe not always like a great actor, but he's a good movie star.
Yeah.
But he was wrong for this.
But there was nothing really in here that gave him an opportunity to be really good either.
No.
There was no kind of, and like you said, Sofia Boutella, that was probably the major disappointment, is we have this actress who's kind of really delving into this character, and she doesn't really do much either. No one really does anything as far as performance-wise. So it was meh. I'm very much on the meh side.
I'm a little below that.
Below the meh side. Well, you could read his review at the Las Vegas Weekly. You can pick up any of the magazines and where they're sold at LasVegasWeekly.com. Also, check out his blog where he just reviewed all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Oh, that was a painful experience.
All the Alien movies and much more at JoshBellHatesEverything.com. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it. Until next week. ChasingCinema.com is known as the Film Lovers website.